I what I really think, and I suffer from the same thing too. I just think we're both jaded, you know, like taking such a hard hit like that when you have so
I
much.
just don't trust people.
When you have everything.
Guys have heard like this.
Look at that.
Oh, yo.
You understand? Yes, sir.
We're
Always
back.
with the yes, sir. My favorite guy to have on this podcast has returned. The man, the myth, the legend, Axsivier Lawrence.
You know what? That's actually a very similar intro to what my buddy Chase does whenever he starts our pods.
Oh, really?
He has a podcast too.
Yeah.
Do you want us to link it down below? We can do that.
Sure.
You talk about
called?
movies, right?
Yeah. What movies, life,
Life.
mostly just like kind of catching up.
Yeah.
It's like our way of keeping our relationship alive. And
Yeah.
That's fair.
right? Because
That's fair.
it's really easy to get busy and then kind of limit the amount of time you spend with your friends.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So the podcast kind of keeps us connected.
That's kind of what it's been for Renee and I lately. Like we
Yeah.
only see each other.
That's
podcast
what's up.
days.
Yeah, I only see this guy like once a week now.
It gets
Right.
crazy,
It gets
man.
hectic,
Like
but that's life.
you can really get caught up with doing your life, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to have like those tangible things that you can go to
Yeah, exactly.
to link up.
That's what's up. That's a good tie-in to today's topic. But before we start that off, welcome back to Unfiltered. We're your hosts, René,
Ethan Durrett,
and again, the boy, Axsivier Lawrence, is back.
our guest.
I love it.
For today.
Yes, sir. And so, as always, check the link down below. Follow up that crown. Buy
Mhm.
some shirts. Buy some toques. It's almost the winter season for Canada people, so definitely check that out. It's
And
good stuff.
Stay tuned for some new products that are gonna be dropping in the next couple months here.
Mhm.
Also in time for winter, we're thinking about some hoodies, and then some gym shorts.
We got
So,
some
yeah, stay
sick,
tuned.
sick collaborations coming. And
Yeah, we
then
do.
if
Yeah,
you
we
like
do.
the episode, like, subscribe, run it up. You know what to do. We don't have to go over that. So, today, relationships,
Whoa.
part 2, finally.
We not dabbing up?
Oh,
you guys not doing
that? Oh, my fault.
You're right.
Yo,
Yeah.
this is why we need this guy here.
I got you.
No
I
cap.
got you.
We almost forgot that.
I know. I know. That's
We would have had to edit that in.
Yeah, you would
That's
have.
signature.
All right.
Facts. All right. Now, relationships, part 2. We've been saying it. It's going to come soon. We're going to get him back on. We're going to talk about it, and it's happening. So, basically, what we want you to keep in mind throughout this episode was kind of the tone of the latter episode, relationships part 1, where it was like a shout out to our ex, right? And we don't want people to misinterpret that as like shout out to my ex, like, oh, she did me wrong. Like, no, like shout out to my ex because I'm better because of that last relationship, right? So when you encompass relationships, last episode we did that. We kind of just went over like our past relationship experiences and how we were feeling with that and where that kind of led us right now in life, right? Like, I know during the creativity episode too, where we had you on, we were talking about like, oh, if we were with our exes, this would have never happened. And you were like, oh yeah, well, I'm glad you guys are out of that relationship, right?
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Kind of that same mentality. So now the idea with this episode is kind of going more into the relationship, more in depth, right? It doesn't have to just be like, romantic relationship, platonic, friends, brothers, family, things like that, and how that can affect life.
Yeah. I know Ethan and I were kind of talking maybe a couple of weeks ago. I think we drove past somewhere and you were like, hey, is it weird to
Oh yeah,
to-
yeah.
like relate this place with my ex?
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that weird? Is that healthy?
I'm not going to lie. I do that all the time.
right?
Yeah.
Constantly.
I kind of want to get your feedback on what you think about that. I personally, I think it's completely normal
Mhm.
and healthy to, have that place or that memory with your ex partner. But I'm just curious, like, kind of what you think about that.
Well, in past relationships too, right? Like, the thing is, you're now like missing not the person but the memory of that person, right? You're missing the things that you used to do, right? And so, especially when you've lived in Red Deer your entire life, in the case of Ethan and I'm not sure about you, But when you've lived in Red Deer, basically your entire, young adult, youth, and then kid life, right? Obviously, things are going to hit you. Flashbacks are going to hit you no matter where you are. I have like a flashback every day just driving, and I'm like, oh, hey, I remember when I was there and I was like 5. And then when it's like your ex, right, sometimes you're a little pensive. You get caught up on the thought. You're like, oh, well, I shouldn't be thinking about this. But at the end of the day, that's life, right? And the most important thing you can do is not being kind of like hung up on it. Like I said, it's more of just, realizing that you got out of that and it's nobody's fault. You're just a better person because of it. You both are, even if you don't talk to that person anymore.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, my coping mechanism with that kind of stuff, like just naturally, even like from when I was young, I would always say like I need to go back there with someone else and replace that memory. Right. So I'd be like, so I need to go there and create a new memory so that memory is not as like potent or like the one that comes straight to my mind.
That's
the
interesting.
newest memory will be the one. And like that was never taught. I just started doing that. Like that was just something that I would just be like instinctively just be like, okay, I need to go there soon and build something new at that exact place.
I don't doubt that you do that in like the healthy way, right? Because I know you, but like
Yes.
that's like, be careful with that.
Well,
right?
it's a little bit
because
weird,
you don't want to. It's almost like when you just say that without any context or with if I didn't know you, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of just like, so you're trying to replace that person with a new one kind of thing. You're doing the things that you used to do with that person, even though the new person may not even like that at all.
Not exactly that. Like just replace it. Like if it was a bad memory, right? Or like the thought of the person is attached with bad like feelings, right?
I guess.
Just trying to like, I don't know, like coping, right?
Yeah.
Just like trying to replace that.
I do hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I would be careful with that. I think
Yeah.
Even though that person is your ex,
Yeah.
right? That's still like such a part of who you are.
Well,
as
not
a
even
character
exes,
now.
like friends and like just different like people I just don't see anymore that I don't have like a good connection with.
Yeah.
I just don't like want to tarnish that location because like I might really like that
Yeah.
place.
like relationships, right? It just have such a big. It's such like, if not one of the most important parts of life, right?
Yes.
We're all human beings. We're all social creatures. That's kind of our gist. That's kind of our thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I
Yes.
mean, if we never worked together from the beginning of time, we would all still be, wild
Yeah.
animals, right? Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
the
if
wild,
we,
bro.
It's because we work together
Booga booga.
that
Yeah.
that race has been eliminated, and we are now, the human race that
Mhm.
very intelligent.
2 brains are better than one, right?
Exactly.
That's what's
yeah.
up.
That's what they say.
And so, coming back to like the
Mhm.
general relationships topic, right?
Yep.
I know one of the things that we really wanted to touch upon as well is your opinion on relationships while you're young.
Okay.
Right? Because there's a lot of people out there that have been in relationships for a long time, and that it's like successful, and that great for those people, right? Like that's awesome. But there's a lot of people, like I want to say the majority, that it just does not work out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it, what do you think about having a long-term relationship when you're young as a goal? And how does that hinder? How can that hinder you?
For me, I never really had like, obviously I had relationships at a younger age, but they all kind of eventually fell to the wayside. Now, I think that's probably partly due to the fact that I was like really immature when I was younger. I wanted to be super selfish for myself, right? I had my own kind of goals and aspirations.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you can't have that while you're in a relationship, but I was kind of trying to figure out my own independence, right? It's the first time I kind of moved out of my parents' house, and I want to, be able to go out and hang out with my friends all night. It's different when you're in a relationship because you guys have to be able to kind of connect, right? You can't
For sure.
you can't just go away for a couple of days, not texting, not hanging out, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be like a breaking point where somebody isn't feeling like they're getting enough out of that.
Well,
exactly.
What I always saw was like, whenever one of my friends would get in a relationship, or anyone, we like the rest of the group would be like, well, I guess we won't see him for a couple of years or until they break up, right? Because like you won't. Like he's gonna spend all his time with her because she gives him things that you guys will not be able to give me, you know? Like,
that's fair.
It's just not the
Yeah.
same connection. And at a younger age, you're very curious because, I mean,
You're
you've
very
had the
wrapped up
boys,
in
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Just at a younger age, like you're still kind of figuring out yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like as we age in life, you're always constantly evolving. Like
Mhm.
if you're not going forward, you're kind of going backwards, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I don't think that like most people in general are ever kind of regressing. They're always moving forward. But with that being said, when you're younger and you enter that relationship, you might not know your own life skills on how to be able to split time between friendships, right?
That's
Mhm.
something you're constantly developing.
That's
Yeah.
something that you're developing at a young age. It's a more challenging part of who you are, right?
Exactly.
Like me at 18 is completely different from me at 22,
Mm-hmm.
25, 28, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a different person.
Yeah.
So that like in itself is crazy. I can never imagine marrying or being with anybody that I was with when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
We're just two different people. We were
Yeah.
doing different things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I feel like I've grown that much more. So it's if you're with a partner and you think that you guys can continue to develop,
Well,
then
you either grow together or you
then
grow
it works, right? Like I was talking with my girlfriend right now, and we were saying like, what would happen for us like not to be together, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's always the question.
And
Yeah.
and we kind of like came to a consensus that it's like if you change,
apart.
not grow. Obviously, you want to grow together, but if you
But
change
if you change
who you are at your core, it's just not going to work, right?
Yeah.
I like
Now,
that perspective.
That's
a lot.
kind of the difference.
That's
like
powerful.
we change as we age.
Yeah.
We also grow,
Yeah.
and it's a fine line
It is a fine line.
between changing and growing,
Mhm.
right?
It's also very difficult to like, you know, let go of that person, right? Because
Yeah.
I know there's also like that mechanism where you're in that situation. You're like, oh no, like it'll be fine. Like I can fix them.
Like
I
you've
can
been with
put
that
them back to who
person.
they
You've
used to
been
be.
with that person for so long that it's like that's what you know, and you're gonna do anything to hang on to it. So like you said, like
Yeah.
well, like we can go back to the way we were.
Yeah.
You just got to get past that, right? And that's what a lot of people struggle with. That's like the biggest failure in every single relationship that I've heard, at least.
Well,
right?
that's why I don't agree with young relationships, because if you've been in that relationship for, 5 years, right, from 16 to 21, you break up, then you're just lost, right? Because
yeah.
that's all you knew. You grew up, right, through your
That's
teen
true.
years.
And I know a few people like
You know
that
what I
out there
mean?
for sure.
And it's just like bad, because most of the time you've dropped your friends for that person.
Mhm.
You've dropped family for that person. All this, and then you're just all alone. You have nothing.
But hopefully from there, like those people learn their lesson too, right? Like they can. I even see that as an opportunity for like a slingshot kind of growth.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like you're so down bad that at that point, right? Like you're just like, okay, I gotta get up. I gotta get to it. You know. And that's the biggest thing about relationships too, is especially if you're in a relationship at a young age right now, it's kind of just you need to be willing to accept the fact that it's growing together. That's going to get you somewhere, right? Like that's the most important part. The longer you are with the person, the more things are subject to change. But if it's a healthy growth together, that's what you've got to maintain. You don't have to maintain like everything to be the same way, because like you said, when we're 18 versus when we're like 30, 35, it's not the same at all whatsoever.
No.
Right? And I also like the point that you guys made with being selfish.
Yeah.
Being selfish. That's something honestly I've just learned, because selfishness isn't a bad thing. Like a lot of people associate that with it being a bad thing, but selfishness is important because you have to stay true to who you are, hold on to your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, all of that. Right. And so I can kind of come from a place where I was the polar opposite. I'm not going to lie. Like before, complete opposite. I always put the other person first, which is really, really unhealthy. That's bad.
It's not unhealthy. It's it's a different personality, right? There's people that always want to put other people first, and it can either harm them really badly or it
Mm.
can be to their advantage, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a personality trait.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
No, I don't want to like discount it entirely, but I mean like the way I was in it, right?
I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
the way I was involved, and I want to say the majority of my past relationships, you know, it was kind of just always that person first, to the point where I'm losing sight of myself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you don't realize that, right?
Mm.
Part 1, we talked about not realizing things until it's too late, kind of thing. Like even your friends pointed out, but you're so, you know, in love, that feeling of love, the dopamine in your brain like blocks everything
Got some
out.
blinders on.
Exactly, right? And
Yeah.
then you lose sight of all that. And then when you break up and you're sitting there wondering why, everything just kind of hits you like a bat, right? You're just like, wow, that person was spitting. In my case, you know, Ethan was spitting facts. Like, wow, you know?
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Like every relationship that you're in, you know, whether or not that's friendships or, you know, an ex, I think you can take certain aspects from that
Mm-hmm.
and then translate that into, okay, this is something that is like a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
I need to have this in my next relationship
Setting your boundaries.
because it just wasn't working in my last relationship,
Mhm.
right?
That's also
Like a
something.
And then
grocery list.
I'm kind of I'm going to repeat the same patterns, right? If
Yeah.
I keep on dating somebody that isn't giving me this and I
Yeah.
need this to feel whole, then we're almost bound
Mm-hmm.
to break up again, right?
Yeah.
Or there will be growing animosity,
Yeah.
right?
But it's also like knowing what you need and then knowing what you're okay to settle with.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
It's like a fine line between that.
you do have to be able to, you know, you can't just be like
It's-
my
it's-
way or the
Yeah,
highway.
it's
Yeah,
a push
exactly.
or pull, you know, compromise, you know, communication is everything, right?
That's
And
what they say.
it's so complicated to get a full grasp of that, right? In the relationship that I talked about the last episode, I thought that I had a complete grasp on communication. I was like, oh, I got this, right? And almost having too much faith in someone, right? Where I was really bad at setting boundaries, right? That was one of the things that I really struggled with because I didn't want to push that person away by saying so. I was kind of scared of that, but now I understand that that's like a must, right?
Mhm.
That's got to be from the get-go, or else later down the line, right, things blow up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something you really have to keep in mind.
Definitely. Yeah, they say like communication breakdown is the cause of
Mm.
most relationships ending, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so difficult. It is like telling people how you feel, expressing your emotions. That's already a thing that's really like cut off for men in general, right? And
Yeah,
then women
doubt.
obviously usually better at it, but I don't know. It's hard to, you know, express how you feel and be open with someone because like what if they don't react the way that you want them to react? And then it backlashes
especially when
and-
you're scared of hurting the other person.
It's
Yeah,
it's tough
it's
to be
hard.
vulnerable.
like you want to break up with them, but you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Mhm.
Or you want to tell them, hey, I don't like when we do this, but you don't want to hurt their feelings because, like, oh, what if they don't like that and they break up with me? Like, shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's just like, damn.
Yeah, you got to get out
And
of
I
that
feel
mindset
that.
though.
Yeah,
Like
you, oh, no,
if there
100%.
is
No, you always need to stand up for yourself.
yeah, something that like is bothering you, you
Mhm.
have to be able to voice that,
Mm-hmm.
or else it's just gonna
Mhm.
it's gonna blow up in a bad way. right?
Echoing the sentiment of the last episode, we talked about balance. You have to have a balance between yourself and the other person, right?
Mhm.
No matter the way you look at it, in a relationship, it's two, right?
Yep.
One of the most dangerous things, I think, is for outside sources, other people, to get involved, because then it just starts ruining everything,
Yeah, that's
right? Because people
horrible.
talk, people say things, right? And in some cases, they may be too true. In some cases, they may not be, right? And it's just then a constant question of like, do I have to doubt them? Do I have to this and that? So when you look at a relationship, it's usually going to be between the two of you, right? Family and other stuff, that's like way future. Like if you're getting married, like that's things you have to worry about then.
Mm-hmm.
But in like the base stage of like a relationship, yourself, the other person, how do you balance that? How do you put yourself first without also like shoving this person aside, right? And that's something also that has to be kept in mind.
Yeah, that's something that you guys, once you get into that relationship,
Mhm.
you have to be able to communicate that.
Mhm.
You have to say, hey, for me to be able to give energy into this relationship, I need to be able to do things like my podcast.
Yeah.
I've got to
Mm.
be able to exercise. I need some time to be able to spend with my friends,
Mhm.
right? That fills up my tank.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling empty or I'm leaving those things at the wayside, then I can't
Mm.
give that all to you,
Mhm.
right?
Lately,
Exactly.
that's like the number one thing. Like as soon as I start talking to someone, I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I'm really busy. This is my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
If this isn't going to work for you, then it's not going to work for us. It's not going to work for me. Then carry on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like if I can't get all these things in my day, like these are my priorities. This is the order that they go in, and then here's you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the way it is.
I
right?
mean, I would suggest when you're talking to somebody, not list out things and then put them at the bottom of the totem pole.
See,
Okay,
I'm
I'm not-
here and you're there.
I'm not saying the bottom of the totem pole. I'm saying my priorities.
Even the way that you communicate that with somebody, they could take like
you have to
harsh
phrase it
offense
correctly
for that.
Yeah.
What you have to say, Ethan, is I have in my life, I think you shared something on your
Story
Instagram.
and it said there's
It
you're
was
not
these
my world. You're a part of my universe.
Yes, it was
Yes.
these planets, right? And
Yeah,
it
that's
had
right.
friends.
Yeah.
It had, family, career, aspirations, and then you can have your significant other.
Well,
right?
that's exactly what I mean by the list. It's just
Yes.
a list is
I mean,
1
just
to
don't
5.
put it in the hierarchy of putting A at the top and D at the bottom.
Be-
Have it so
they're all
spread
like,
out.
They're all a part of my universe, but like obviously school's before you. My education's before you. My friends are gonna be before you. My family's gonna be before you. My running's
That's
gonna
a
be
very
before you.
blunt way of putting it, right? Like if you say that to anyone, if you say that, especially to someone who's like sensitive, kind of even,
Yeah.
right? They're just gonna take that like, oh wow, you are really putting me at the bottom of the totem pole,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're going literally quantifying it. You're like me, school, family, friends, you bottom.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it, right?
They can all
I
be
guess so.
part of who makes you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think that you can. It's just really blunt.
Well, that's how I know that I don't want a relationship right now.
Exactly.
well.
I'm
You're
telling
not-
you to
you're
be
not there.
That as well.
Be selfish.
You're
right?
not a priority, and that's why I don't want a relationship.
Mhm.
Well,
And people always
you
ask
gotta-
me, why
yeah,
don't you
just
want a
commit that.
relationship? Why don't you want to be in a relationship? And then I tell them that. And then
Bro.
they're like, yeah, okay.
I stayed single for so long, man.
Why wouldn't you? Like, I don't even understand the mentality of getting into a relationship right now if it's anything besides pleasure.
Mm.
I don't see it, bro. People getting married at 20, 21.
It's crazy.
That young,
It is.
I personally could not do it. I'm like, I just have so many
Mhm.
things I need to do alone with my group, discover who I am, build, right?
I'm glad you brought that up.
With
Mm-hmm.
myself and my team before I can bring on another member that's going to be my whole life, right? Because the difference between friends and other relationships, when you're in a marriage-based romantic relationship, you live with them, you breathe with them, you eat with them,
Mm-hmm.
you sleep. Like everything you do is with them.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
that
No, I hear ya.
relationship is number one, and everything else falls underneath of it. And that's the way it is.
And you're not ready for that, and that's fine.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Right?
And like we said, right, it's also finding the balance between all of that, right? Like
Mhm.
you don't necessarily have to do everything with them. You have to be capable of having your alone time, right? Your
Yeah.
you time, your I'm going out with my friends kind of time, right?
But also, like how I mentioned, there's no such thing as true balance, right?
That's
if you
true,
have
yeah.
3 things that you need to achieve, they're not all going to be split up equally,
Mm.
33.3%.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
going to be a difference in the
Exactly.
split up, right?
No, 100%.
Like I said, when you're married to somebody, they're like 50%
Mhm.
automatically.
Well,
the time that you spend
there's
with
so
them.
many people that are like on different walks of life, right? Like I observe some people who are married at like 25, have like 2 or 3 kids, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like how does that even happen? But at the end of the day, they're ready for that kind of commitment, you know? Like
Mhm.
they in their path, in their set like, road they go on, they've gone through the motions and they've gone through the things that kind of led them to that point, right?
And that's exactly it. Like everyone's journey is different.
Everyone
just
is
because
different.
I don't want to be married right now doesn't mean it's not okay or acceptable for you.
No,
right?
like I see that and I'm like, wow, that's awesome, because
Mhm.
honestly, the other day, like I was telling you, I was having this conversation with my mentee, right, at work. And it's kind of like, it's not a generational thing. It's kind of just like been forever kind of thing where people get married and things like maybe don't work out, or they're in a relationship and things don't work out. And then like me seeing someone married at 25, 3 kids, happily married with their wife, and it looks like it's going to last forever, like that fills me with hope, right? I'm like, damn, that's awesome, because that person you know, like I said, went through the motions and is capable of taking that charge on, right? And there's some cases as well where that can be super unhealthy, right? Like there's a bunch of relationships that also unfortunately end off like that too. Like the kids are now gonna have like all these things to deal with because their parents weren't on like the same page right away, kind of thing. You know, they rushed into it or something, whatever the reason may be.
That's the worst thing is bringing another life into the world when you aren't actually prepared. Because there's a lot of people that are like struggling with a relationship. They're like, let's have a kid. It's gonna fix everything. It's like, yeah, no, it's not.
There's an infinite list of like coping mechanisms, right? It's really hard to go through everything, and it also depends on the person too, right?
Yeah, I don't think like no matter what you've been through in life, you'll never be a perfect person heading into that relationship. And you have to be able to, or your partner has to be okay with you guys kind of getting that growth together, right?
Well, you know what they say, like it's easy to love someone for their good traits.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to love someone for their bad traits, right? Like saying like, oh, I love this, I love that, I love that. But you need to be able to say, I love how they don't clean up after themselves, right? You need to be able to say those things.
That's a fair
you know what I mean?
assessment.
You need to love somebody for everything, not just like 75.
Yeah, you
like,
can't
I
just
hate
pick
that.
and choose, right? Because when
Exactly.
that person does something that you don't like, all of a sudden it's jarring, and you're like, oh, what the hell?
You're like, that's so
Right.
fucking.
And then they maybe see you going, what the hell? And they're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, then it becomes a big thing.
Yeah.
Ethan, you were saying earlier there that, you know, you want to be prepared before you have children.
Yes.
Do you think, because obviously, like, Ethan and I grew up with parents that weren't together, right?
Yeah.
We
Well,
both
I
lived,
grew up
Me
with
too.
no parent.
Yeah,
No
oh, you
second
as well?
parent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
and we
I'm all on that
both
boat.
lived with. Did you live with your mom as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all three
Yeah.
of us lived with our mom, but I think there's a world where we all want children and we want to be in that family and have that, right?
That is such a good one, man.
But-
Every once in a while. No, sorry. Continue.
But I feel like I need to get to a place where
Mhm.
I feel like I can give that lifestyle before I have children.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Every time because I love the idea of a family, right? An older son to take care of the younger daughter. You know, the wife at home. You know what I'm saying? I want that, bro. I want to come home to that, bro.
This guy's gonna start crying.
You know, like that. That's like ideal. That is like end goal, right?
Oh,
that
for
is
sure.
like I really want that, but there's just so much that goes into it, right? Like I need to have the financials set, right? Because I'm
Huge.
not bringing you into my life unless I can provide everything and more for you. Like I'm not gonna do that, and like it's really upsetting to see all the people that need to go through it, right? I think it does build a stronger individual, but I also do believe that, you know, why wouldn't you give your kids what you never had, right?
I always look at my parents' relationship as an example of what not to do, right? Like that's one of the things, you know, people say people mature faster than the others. That's one of the things that really did it for me, right? Is being there, observing all of that. And it's also kind of a fine line, right? Because when you're so focused on not replicating something, then other things can go wrong without you noticing it, right? That's like thinking way ahead in the future. Obviously, I'm
that's
nowhere
fair.
near there
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
But, right?
No, I hear
Like
ya.
when you're focused on, oh, I do not want to have the same relationship as my parents had, and then not have the same effect on my kids as they had on me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? When you're so unraveled in that thought, you just lose sight of so many other things, and that applies to everything in life, right?
Yeah. Well, like, you know what they say, like every day, like the small habits that you do are going to like put you on a road, a long-term road, right? You're not actually going to realize it until like 20 years down the road. But all those habits lead you, right? If you don't brush your teeth every day, you know, the first couple of years, it's not going to be that bad, but like 20 years down the road, you're not going to have teeth anymore, right? So like same thing goes for like, you know, making your bed, being nice to people, you know, putting in work every day in the gym, right? Same thing. You don't see the benefits from going to the gym every day until like 2 months. And then you start to see a little bit, right?
12 weeks. 12 weeks.
Yeah, you
man,
don't see
if somebody
anything.
starts at the gym.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's
And it's the
pretty crazy.
same. It's the same for like relationships, right? Like it's a constant build. And if you only focus on one thing, you're gonna lose sight, and then you're gonna get to a point where it's like, I should have been doing that all that time.
Exactly.
No, I do like your comment there though of not hyper focusing
Mm-hmm.
on something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because sometimes if you are on that one path, then other things do go at the wayside.
Right.
And that 1% better, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's tangible steps that you got to take
Yeah.
in order to achieve something,
Mm-hmm.
or else it's
Yeah,
just kind of
fixation.
1% better every day.
1% better. That's Atomic Habits, I think that book is.
Yeah, I gotta read that, man. But fixation is a really dangerous thing. You really gotta be careful with that. To that regard, what do you guys think about breaking up in a relationship? Right, like obviously the whole tone is, oh, it's good for you, right? There's always, you have to learn somehow. Nobody goes in a relationship immediately knowing what to do and everything that needs to be done, right? Especially like if you take it to a very literal sense, people that sit there on their phones all day looking at relationship advice on like a website or something, that's not going to help you because, right?
Well,
Depends.
technically, every relationship is a fresh slate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Technically, every relationship is new, right? New things you're going to learn with them, new experiences you're going to learn with them. Not every person you're going to be with is going to be, like copy paste, right?
Yeah.
It's always going to be
I want you
different.
to keep that in mind. I'm going to get back on that later. But, right, like the premise is breaking up is healthy. Breaking up is normal. To those people out there that are going through it right now and nobody knows, right?
Yeah.
Like that, it's a total normal step of life.
It's just as normal as getting together with somebody. Like it's
I think
inevitable.
breaking up can be healthy, but it can also be toxic.
It can also be toxic.
And I think it gets to a toxic place when somebody decides that they want to be selfish. And by selfish in this aspect, I mean reaching out when you're feeling lonely.
Oh.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You break up with somebody.
That's a good one.
And
damn,
you've already mentally checked out of that relationship.
Yeah.
But, that Friday night comes around. You're feeling kind of sad. I'm going to send them a little text. Boom. You guys get back together.
For
and
the
you
night.
Assume that, or you get back together in the relationship and you're like, oh, it will be different this time. But it's not. You have to not be selfish and not text that person, because then it just crumbles.
Yeah.
And it, the reason why you broke up with them is in the back of their mind. And, it's not going to change.
You can't allow people to be like your weak spot, because when the second, like you said, you start going back and forth between like advancing and regressing between the relationship, that's just horrible.
It is.
That's really bad.
And people break up and get back together like 5 times, 2 times.
It's
and then they always end up breaking up. It never works out.
Like it ends for a reason.
Yes.
I've had that before where I was with someone in grade 9 and we broke up. We're still kind of friends, and that's another thing I want to get on, but hold off that. And then we were like talking and things were going good, and then in grade 11 we got back together again. Well, guess what? The exact same thing that happened the first time happened the second time.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, well, no shit, right? Like, like you can't, like the relationship ends for a reason, right? And there's another perspective that my coworker and I were talking about where sometimes relationships can be a lesson. Like most of the time they will be. But there's other times where it can just be simply because it sucked. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
Like not everything has to have like a meaning behind it. Not everything has to have a page, a descriptor. Eventually, maybe later down the line, you'll realize it. But for the immediate moment, right? Like it can just be like that sucked.
I'm not feeling it. I'm not vibing with it.
Like that it just sucked. That's it.
I agree.
Nothing
you
more
don't
to
have
it.
to have a reason for every move that you make. Like my first relationship ended because I wasn't feeling it anymore.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, like, why? I'm like, this is how I feel. Like, I'm just not feeling it, like, and it's just, it's very difficult to explain to someone your emotions when you can't even explain them to yourself.
Yeah. No doubt.
That's like the hardest thing ever.
Yeah. And I think that, as like you progress and you get older and you enter more relationships, you have to be doing those mental check-ins with yourself constantly, right?
Yeah.
And asking yourself, oh, am I getting this? Because you don't want one day to just wake up and be like, I'm just not feeling it, right? Like you got to make sure that you are you're always staying in tune with yourself. And I think
Yeah.
as you age and as we age, you find out how to do that better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well, yeah, I
obviously
was, like,
you at
15.
15 does not have the same life skills as you as
Absolutely
19,
not.
right?
Mhm.
Like you've learned, oh, okay, I need this, right? And that's something that you can do, like that mental check-in, even with your friendships, right? Not even necessarily like relationships,
I
right?
feel like friendships just aren't as demanding as relationships, though.
Okay.
Like
Go on to
romantic
that.
relationships.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I mean, I don't know. Like whenever I'm like, you want to hang out, it's like, yeah, sure. What are we doing? It's like, all right, let's go do this, do that, do this, and then it's like, all right, see you when I see you. But in a relationship,
Uh-huh.
it's like you see them and then they text you and it's like, hey, like when are we gonna see each other again? When are we gonna do this again? And it just seems like it's a lot more demanding, a lot more stress involved. 'Cause I've never been like stressed out about hanging out with a friend, or like it's just not the same emotion, the same attachment. It's just completely different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like, do you guys treat relationships the same, or like in the same lane as friendships and other relationships, or is it like a completely different filter?
Like, to be honest, I can't even fathom how to answer that question.
Dude,
It's like
I've
a
thought
really,
about it so much,
I
and I
think-
don't know how to answer it either.
I really think like the emotion of love, right, can be expressed in millions of different ways.
Yeah, well,
Right,
like
so-
I love you guys, but
Yeah.
not the same way I love a girl, right?
Right, but, like,
it's different.
At the same
Mhm.
time, I feel like it's two sides of the same coin, right? It's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
It's also learning how to have that in a relationship, right? Because that's an important thing I feel like you need to also have when it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
A relationship means you do a lot more things than a friendship,
Yeah.
but at the base level, that's kind of what it is, right? Like, you kind of have to be best friends with the person you're with.
You definitely do.
That's a really big
Yeah.
issue.
I
because-
think
that I'm just really confused. Like, do you have any way to answer that?
that's a very, very challenging question. I think what's happening, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is in the past relationships that you've had,
Like relationships, really, like girls.
yes,
Okay.
the girl relationships that you've had, you put an emphasis on it needs to be this certain way,
I was going
and
to
I
say that.
can't.
Yeah.
You're like you're saying it has to be this way, right? And
You're
you feel
You're focused on it more being a relationship. Like, you just see it as a relationship rather than a relationship can be a friendship, platonic, romantic, right? Where you're focused more on the romantic part.
I think, yeah, what you need to do is when you find somebody in years to come,
Mm-hmm.
as you date and you go through life, you need to be able to find somebody that can give you what you need as far as friendship goes, as far as romantic things go, as far as space that you need for yourself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And to me, it sounds like you've been putting a lot of stuff in the romantic
Mm-hmm.
aspect of that relationship
Mhm.
Yeah.
with your girl, and your friendship aspect feels like it's missing out, and then your me time feels like it's missing out as well.
You can't put a complete divider.
You can't throw everything into one basket
Mhm.
Yeah.
because then you're feeling empty, right?
It's
Yeah.
that balance.
And that's
It's
something
balance.
that you
I
need
know,
to
I know
figure
my
out.
me time's good.
Yes,
The romantic stuff is good.
but the friendship part you haven't found, and that's fair.
in some relationships I have, but
Mhm.
like looking forward, it just doesn't even feel like it's possible. Like, it feels so weird. I don't even know. It just feels like the romantic comes before the friendship.
That's why I said, like, I can't even fathom the answer to the question, right? Because that's not just one of the things, unfortunately, that it's just experience.
Dude,
You have to learn what that
I've
is
dated
for you.
many people, and I've had that romantic in that me time, have not had that friendship.
So do
right?
you think it's just the people?
It's the person,
all-
and you'll
yeah.
know when you find somebody, and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm a friend with that
Mhm.
person, right?
Like, I'm like, I have the same like emotions that I have for like my best friends, but I also have this emotion.
Exactly.
Yes,
That-
you
that's-
have a little bit more, right?
Damn,
and,
I want that.
and it's
No
it's tough. And
Fuck me, bro.
yeah,
Damn.
no,
That's beautiful.
but for real, dude.
Poetic justice. Bro.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
I'm not, when you find it,
Yeah.
you'll be like, oh shit. This
Well,
is what Xavier's
I've
talking
felt
about.
it, like I've found it, but it just doesn't feel fathomable like ever again. Like it just feels like it's never gonna be found.
No, trust me.
You just
You got lots of, I got 10 years on you, my guy. Trust me.
Big brother
out
Axe in the
there.
house.
It's
for
out
real,
there.
for real.
No, honestly.
I want to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
People talk about, reigniting the spark.
Impossible.
People talk about that a lot when they should be focusing on keeping the flame going, right? Because there's a lot of situations where you feel burnt out, where things just suck, and you kind of have to weather the storm. But when the storm comes, people just back out. Oh, there's a storm? I'm just going to go to the other side of the world. Fuck that person, right? Something happens, maybe an injury that doesn't allow them to play sports, or maybe like family issues, and then it's just like so mentally boggling, occupied in here, that they can't even give the thought of a relationship a chance anymore. But rather, instead of leaving that person, I think, you should be able to communicate that with the other person and, like I said, weather the storm, kind of see what happens from there. But a lot of people, like I said, instead of trying to keep the flame going, they just either they try to reignite the spark later down the line. Oh, let me go on a break. I'm not into this right now. I need a break. Or they find the spark in someone else, like immediately. That's their instinct. Like because I'm going through something, I can't be with this person anymore. What do you guys think about that?
I think that the grass is never greener. You need to like either figure it out or, I think breaks are so stupid. If you're gonna go on a break up. If you're indecisive, break up. I never think that you should be.
A person should never be like a seesaw. You shouldn't be teetering.
No. It should either you're 100% for it, or you're not. Right? If you're 90% for it, then like I don't really want it. You're either 100% for it or you're not. It's just that's the way it is. Like I never want to have a little bit of indecisiveness about a relationship. Like I think that's horrible. I think if you're thinking about breaking up, that's the decision. Instantly. Like that's just the decision. I don't think that it's unhealthy to have those feelings. I think it's like a good thing, 'cause like I've been through it too. I think like your mind will try to like sabotage you, right? You'll be thinking about all the good times, oh, this was so awesome.
Yeah, you gotta really be in check of your mind, because your mind's gonna make you want that person even more.
Yeah, it's gonna play with you, 'cause as soon as you, because I've been on a break before, and the entire time you're just thinking about like, we've had so much fun, like she just messed up like once or like twice, like it's not that big of a deal, like, and then you get back together,
dangerous,
and then it's like, nah, I definitely should have broken up with you.
Right?
It's just like, yeah, no, that was definitely the right decision. It's just like what you said, when you break up with somebody
and you get back
together, it's
Yeah.
never gonna be the same. It's not the same connection.
No, I do agree with that aspect. Once you break up or you take a break, it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
Don't sugarcoat it. Don't have hope. Like at that point, like some way or the other, something led you to.
Something told you
the
it's-
structure
this
just
is over.
isn't as solid,
Right.
Like as soon as it's been compromised, it's compromised.
And it's not gonna get better. Like time doesn't fix everything, right? Like there are some things that you just have to let go.
Yeah.
But a lot of people get hung up on, the person, right?
And like the good times attached to the person.
Because it's okay to have good times
Mhm.
with your ex, right? And that's perfectly healthy. But you can't attribute that one trip to Bali as that defining.
And then her cheating on you 6 times and being like, yeah, but Bali was really fun though. Like
right?
it just doesn't
Like,
work.
And there's always going to be moments like that with other people, whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
Like depending on your relationship. But
Yeah.
that is what it is.
Yeah.
So cheating,
Yeah.
has that? Have any of you guys let that affect you in your relationships that you're pursuing? I'll answer after, but
Like
I'll let
me
you
cheating
go.
on someone, or
No, getting
someone
cheated
cheating
on.
on me.
Well, I've never cheated on anybody, but I'm not sure if you guys have been cheated on.
I've never cheated on anybody. I haven't actually like fully processed like the events of last year. I've kind of like pushed them to the side. They're kind of like just in my
That's
my
important.
demon
You
closet.
really
Gotta
you
deal
really-
with that.
You gotta fight your demons
No,
so
I
that
know.
you
I've-
can put your
I've-
clothes in your closet, bro.
I've been telling people, yo, I gotta go to therapy. I gotta go talk to someone about this. But
Yeah.
like for real, like I just like I said, I just don't see that ever happening again. Like the whole like friendship, like what I said. It just doesn't feel like
Genuine.
possible.
It doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel real.
No, like I
That-
I don't
that's-
know. Like that's just
Cheating
the
can really
biggest
fuck you up.
betrayal of trust. You
Yeah.
know, and it's very difficult to just be like, oh, well, it's all good. Like I'll just
No,
walk it off.
that's unacceptable.
Well,
Right? Getting
after-
cheated on is completely unacceptable.
after that one girl or whoever you're with does that, then I don't know. There's like this weird filter over you where you view everyone like
You're jaded.
like they can do that,
you're-
right?
yeah.
And everyone is very like it's possible for anybody to do that to you, right? We're all human.
Yeah.
It's a very easy possibility. People cheat all the time. It's human nature, right? To go for what's better in the moment. But it is it is human nature, bro.
Okay. I'm so glad I had this
wouldn't go with-
conversation with my
yeah.
coworker, man, because we went over all of this.
Yes.
It's human nature is something that is really difficult to tackle because while yes, when you see it as like scientific nature aspect, like X equals this, right? Sure.
We're here to breed, bro.
But the thing that makes us human beings, that makes us more advanced than any other species on the planet, right, is the fact that we have a conscience.
yes,
We're
yeah,
capable of thinking things through. We're capable of seeing the right and the wrong,
Yeah.
right? Like when a bear murders like a deer, it doesn't care. It's hungry,
Yeah.
right? That's not the same thing for humans, though, right? You don't cheat on someone just because this and that. It's more complicated than that, right?
It's not always more complicated than that, bro.
Well, sometimes it's
sometimes
not.
it's just in the moment it happens, but it's still not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's still not okay. It's
But,
still
like-
morally out of
Yeah.
pocket.
But like the thing is, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's human nature. I wouldn't say
Maybe I'm just using the wrong word.
I think what I really think, and I suffer from the same thing too. I just think we're both jaded, like taking such a hard hit like that when you have so
I
much.
just don't trust people. the same.
when you
Like, I just
have
don't trust
everything, so much faith in someone, and they just like break it just over a stupid moment, right? But it's not that. Like everyone is capable of cheating, right? But it's not that everyone will do it, right?
people. Well, yeah, because we have the choice, right? Like I could have done it, but I didn't, right?
What do you
there.
think? I know your gears are turning. Maybe you can put this better than I can.
I think just looking forward to any relationship that you go through after somebody has cheated on you, you can't
You can't go in. You
Have
can't
you-
go in.
Have
you
you been
can't-
cheated on?
yeah.
Okay.
You can't go into a relationship thinking that
Mm.
person will do it to
Yeah,
me,
you
right?
can't go with
Yeah,
that.
You have to-
really difficult
you have
to
to
let go of.
You have to be like, this could happen, obviously,
Yeah.
because anything could happen,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna suck and it's gonna hurt
Mhm.
if somebody does that to me. But at the end of the day, that's on you,
Yeah.
right? That's gonna be on them, and there's nothing that I can do to control that.
Mhm.
Because people can get very obsessed
With control.
with control, and you can't control
Yes.
anything.
No, like I always used to say, and I still do believe this. I just don't practice it anymore because I'm not in a relationship. But I always believe that your actions will prove to me how much you value our relationship.
Mhm.
So like I don't give a shit who you talk to. I don't care, how often you're going out with your friends. I don't care, right? That's you, right? You're going to go live your life. You're going to do your thing. Like I said, I'm just another planet in your galaxy. But if you go out and do something that will hurt me or goes against my morals or yada, 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 then you've made the decision without like talking to me. You've made the decision with your actions, and like we're done. Like you made the decision, right? Like getting cheated on, you made that decision, and this is the repercussion, right? You didn't value this relationship as much as you valued doing that, right? You didn't value like talking shit behind my back. You didn't value me or my feelings as much as you valued doing that, right? You chose the apple on the tree over
This guy's getting biblical.
over hanging out with Adam. It's just I just always think that, the ball's in your court. You play the game, and if you miss the bucket, you're done. You're benched.
You
You're
have
done.
to. I know you do this, but you have to have your boundaries too.
Yes, you do. You
Right.
have to choose somebody that has
Like,
the same
yeah,
values.
Values.
Where I came from in my relationship was like just what you just said is like the only thing that I had in mind, right? Like I didn't set any boundaries. I wasn't like this makes me feel a certain way. No, just whatever you do it. But if it like messes with me, then we're done, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I even lost sight of the "we're done" part, and I was just like pensive on it all the time. You know,
You're just like, bro, she did this.
you know, like what do I do, right? And
yeah.
there's two sides, you know, to every story. There's two sides of a coin, yada yada yada. But you always it's having to be careful. You can't go into a relationship with your expectations set for they're gonna cheat on me, right? Because effectively what you're doing is you're just blocking yourself off from that other person. That other person's not gonna get the chance,
100%.
That's like going into
To
a
know you.
relationship and being like, we're gonna break up eventually.
right?
Bro,
It's like,
I've had that said to me by my significant other, and I'm just looking at them like, what the fuck?
like
is
why
wrong
are
with
we
you?
doing this?
No,
Right?
I do feel though if you go into that relationship with your walls already up
Exactly.
on that, then
yeah, it's hard to
you're
build on.
almost like speaking into existence that you don't trust that person.
Exactly.
If there's no trust in that relationship because you've already gone in that this person's going to do
Mhm.
this to me,
Mm-hmm.
done.
And it's not even like
it's done before it even starts.
I don't want to
Yes.
say it's like a manifesting kind of thing,
It
but you're
is
kind
almost
of
manifesting
you're
it.
kind of manifesting that fate.
If there's no
right?
trust, if you what you're essentially saying is
Mhm.
to your partner is I don't trust you
Mm-hmm.
because somebody did this to me.
Yeah.
Okay, how do you
past.
let go of that though? Like, how do you get past that?
That
and
is
move
such a difficult
on?
question
Dude,
to
and
answer.
That's
move on to
something
the
that
next
you're going to
thing.
have to talk to
That's-
your therapist about.
That's something the podcast can help
Yeah,
you with, bro.
I think
There are some things. There are some things
that
that
you gotta.
you need help for. There are
Mhm.
some things that you need to just find out yourself, and
Yeah.
that's like 9 of them. Right
It's
there,
yeah,
bro.
it's tough. It's tough. It's easier for me to just
Mm.
say, dude, you just gotta trust the process.
It,
but
it really.
that's something that you gotta kind of
yeah,
work
but
through.
like it's already been like a year and I'm still in the same spot. I'm just like, yo, fuck bitches.
Yeah, well,
DTB4L.
Yeah, no, literally DTB for life, bro. Like, I don't know. It just feels.
I don't know, man. That's you gotta let your walls fall eventually. That's the best advice that I can give, that you could probably give, that anyone could give, is you just gotta let it go eventually, right? Or else you'll never find it.
In
You'll
due time.
never find that,
In due
right?
time.
But that takes different amounts of time for everybody.
I think I
Yes, it does.
use my hustle as a way to not get in a relationship. Cause
as like an excuse.
yeah, cause like why would someone
To
want to be
ignore
with
it.
why would someone want to be with someone that like
Mhm.
can never see them, right? I think
Mhm.
I use that, and I always want to be working so
Mhm.
that I can't be with someone.
And again, I feel you. Like, we're in very similar places, but I'm more of like a hopeless romantic, I feel. So I kind of just default to that anyway. But
well, dude, I would love to buy someone flowers and take them out on a picnic and do like
Mm.
all this romantic
Yeah.
gooey shit,
Yeah.
right? I don't think that that's corny at all. I think
No.
that's adorable, and I think that's a lot of fun.
No,
but like,
what you're saying
just
right
wanna get
now is
hurt,
that
bro.
you don't trust, but you're saying that you've already moved on to a place now where you can go into something trusting.
more or less, right? Like,
so
there's
what
always
do you think
the
it
thought in my
was
back
for
of my
you
head.
that made you like I can just helplessly just trust somebody?
yeah, how did you get over it? Like you're telling me that if you found her right now, you would be like, yeah, like I 100%
Like, if I
trust
found
you.
like my, like, let's say like my soulmate, like right now.
Yeah.
yeah, like how did you get
Nah.
over what happened to you? And like you're just like ready to just jump in again.
That's a really difficult one to answer. In the past few months, I've also done wrong to someone, right? Like not outright cheating on them or anything. Like, I would never do that to anybody, right? But I kind of went through this weird phase where, like, I was all of a sudden, you know, like, I saw the good in someone again, you know? Like, they were there for me. Like, I had some person just show me that, right? Like, not everybody is the same, right? And it was proven to me time and time and time again. The unfortunate thing is that I just was not ready,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now when I'm capable, where I'm capable of sitting here and analyzing all of it, right? Like, the thing that really pulled me out of that rut is kind of just moving on, bro.
So are you telling me that having a rebound is necessary?
No, rebounds are really bad.
No,
Okay, so
what I
what
think
are you
he's saying
saying?
is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is he just made peace with
through another person.
no, not through another person, with himself. He took what happened
Yeah.
and he internalized it.
Mm.
He realized, that could happen in any given relationship, but I'm okay with what happened, and I'm ready to just move on.
Way to voice my thoughts.
Yes, it's that happened. It's over.
Yeah.
It's gone. I'm
Right,
ready
like,
to move on.
I've accepted it,
And
and
it's-
I'm okay with that it
Mhm.
happened, but I'm
Are
not
you,
ready
though?
to move. Yeah, 100%. The minute it happened, I was like, all right, we're done. That's cool.
I think you're thinking of two different things, two different
Me
emotions
too.
almost.
Yeah.
What?
I don't think that you've said it's over, but I'm not sure if you've technically made peace with it. If you still feel
If you still feel like anybody's capable of doing that, then you can't really say
Anyone
that
is capable of doing that.
but if you're going into a relationship thinking that they are going to do that,
like
you know what I mean? You have to go into a
Yeah.
relationship full, heart open,
Yeah.
ready to be sliced and diced again, or else you're done.
I'm definitely not ready for that.
Yes.
I'm chilling, bro. I'm good.
That's
it
I'm
wasn't
good.
like in some cases, no, the way you look at it, like saying it's a rebound, you wouldn't be entirely wrong, but that's not initially right off the bat what
Mhm.
even happened, right?
Yeah.
Like again, it's just getting out of that rut is like you said, making peace with it, right? And yes, I've made peace with it, but there are still times where I think about it. There's still times where I'm like, well, damn, that really sucked, but I don't let it go past that. You know,
Mhm.
I'm like, damn, that sucked, right?
Yeah.
But you can't. You have to have faith. Is such an important thing, right?
so important.
Faith,
That's
trust,
the trust,
and communication are like the building blocks of
the
relationship.
pillars.
And I'll be over here.
It's the foundation, man. No, but you do need that,
Yeah.
right?
This has turned into a therapy episode
Yeah.
for this guy.
no cap, bro.
Yeah.
Got me fucked up. That's
The-
life. In due time.
We'll figure it out, bro.
Yes, you will.
We'll
You
figure
certainly
it out
will.
in due time.
Honestly.
Relationships Part 2.
Yeah, man.
Featuring
We got
Axsivier
deep.
Lawrence.
Oh,
We got
my
deep.
days.
Thank you so much for coming today.
No, thank you for
Really
having me.
appreciate it.
Honestly, I love getting vulnerable with you guys.
Isn't it just amazing? I'm gonna go cry now.
It's very healthy.
Big brother
honestly.
acts.
It is.
Yeah.
It is
I
very
love
healthy.
this.
No, it is. It's
No,
good.
it's
Good talks.
really just, it's different for everyone. I can't flat out say my answer. You can't
Yeah.
quantify that kind of thing.
Can't.
You just have to find it for yourself, and
Find-
that's that.
find yourself.
Find yourself.
Know yourself.
Know yourself.
I mean, it's
Drake.
different for everybody too, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Damn.
crazy. All right. Well.
That's all we got.
That's that. That's a wrap.
Oh my God, I'm gonna go think about my life now.
Yeah, baby.
For real. Episode relationships number 3 featuring my therapist next.
You're not taking my phone for that.
Oh my
No, I'll
goodness.
record it on mine.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming back on.
No, thank you for having me, man.
That's Unfiltered. So we were talking right after the episode was finished, and we kind of came to an epiphany, and we were gonna save that knowledge for the next episode, but then I was sitting there watching, editing, whatnot, and I'm like, nah, this needs to be in the episode or else it won't feel complete.
Well, like we recorded it and then
Yeah.
it didn't fit. So
Yeah. And then we recorded a segment, and then we were like, nah. Let's do it again. Let's do it properly, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the rundown is when we were talking about, being jaded and how to get out of that like rut of, oh, this person is gonna do me wrong, or I don't want to risk it, kind of thing, right? Kind of like you and I, or whoever else out there is dealing with that kind of thing. I was realizing that one of the things for me really was just finding. We talked about the friendship part, the relationship portion,
the
and
different the different like aspects to
Yeah.
a relationship.
and then kind of your own portion, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
separating into those different like categories if you want to be like technical about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just finding that friend in someone first. That's what did it for me, right? Like I couldn't phrase it properly. I was like, "Oh," and you were like, "Oh, is it a rebound?" I'm like, "No, bro. It's not like that."
Yeah.
Right? It's more of trying to find a friend in someone else, because being able to be friends with someone, right, your significant other first, and then like slowly but surely over time, like actually starting to like them, like fall in love with them, making that genuine connection. It's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I really feel that's how you get there. I know Xavier obviously is not here right now, but we talked about it with him, and he was like, yeah, no, that sounds pretty accurate. So
Yeah, like instead of building off of the loving aspects and like
Yeah.
the relationship side, fundamentally starting with even like the friendship side, right? So learning to love them as a friend
Exactly.
before you develop the feelings of
the romantic feelings.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly, right?
And
And so
I've even seen that like a lot, like people that have one night stands and then build a relationship off of that.
yeah, that's
right,
like horrible.
It usually like does not work.
No.
Because you're getting to know each other after you've already had that special.
You like
moment,
jumped
right?
the gun, right?
Exactly.
Like you went up the steps, you skipped like 8.
Yeah, you took the elevator.
Facts. You took the elevator. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how we wanted to end the episode off. If you like what you see, you know what to do, and we're unfiltered.
Bless up.
RE. Filtered.
Take it easy.